Hello, guys. Welcome to another episode of the Ecommerce Lab by Ecomcy, the place for everything related to Amazon FBA private label and e-commerce. My name is Vincenzo Toscano, your host, founder, and CEO of Ecomcy. And today we'll bring you another special guest. His name is Chad Rubin, who is the founder and CEO of Profasee. And he's also in the past been the co-founder of Cubana and also the famous show Prosper. So I know today is going to be a very interesting episode because Chad has an amazing background when it comes to, especially with Profasee now, when it comes to pricing strategies and how you can actually split test and find the best, basically, pricing for your product to succeed in the Amazon competitive environment right now. And that's going to be today's episode. So before we jump into that, though, I want to welcome Chad to the show. So how you doing, my friend?
Hey, thank you so much for having me. I'm very grateful for the opportunity.
Thank you. It's a pleasure for me to have you here on board. I think we already had a couple of interesting conversation about what you guys do in our prophecies. I'm very excited to, explore that further in today's episode. But, I think before we jump into all the technicality and all the strategies, I'm pretty sure people is very excited to learn from you around pricing. I want to, get a little bit of insight on your background. I mean, you have an amazing CV when it comes to what you've been doing in the commerce space. So maybe you can give us a little bit of that knowledge and basically your journey and what you've been doing so far. And then we jump into the topic. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I think a lot of people kind of know me in the space. I'm an
Yeah.
OG, but for
I
those
know.
that don't, the quick, the quick on me is I've been doing this for 20 years, exclusively focusing on e-commerce, multi-channel e-commerce, Amazon, Shopify, and other marketplaces. I started a direct-to-consumer home appliance parts company back in 2007. I was
Hmm.
a very early private label brand. There was not many of us. Days were different back then.
Yeah.
Then I started selling multi-channel, then started a software company out of my own pain point of balancing inventory cross-channel. So we started a company called Stubana.
Yeah.
That company was sold in April of 21.
Yeah.
And also the Prosper shows you mentioned, I co-founded that with a bunch of other experts in the space. We sold that, I believe, at the end of 2018.
That's right.
And after that, I really worked on my mindset, as per your poster in the background. I worked
Yeah.
on, I think I was living a life that was like asynchronous and incongruent to really what I wanted in life. And
Yeah.
so I worked on shifting mindset and developing a better version of myself. And after staring at a tree for long enough, I came up with this idea around Profasee and turning my own e-commerce business around because it was struggling,
Mm.
and net margins were negative. And I was like, okay, we're all changing PPC, we're all driving outside traffic. I followed all the advice that gurus were sharing, and I was like, wait, why does no one change price? And I really started asking questions and getting curious about that. And that's how I led to Profasee, which is a dynamic private label repricer for Amazon brands to change pricing to maximize profit without sacrificing their ranking position.
Yeah, love it, love it. I think what you guys doing with prophecies is so important because I totally agree. People is so into the mindset that when it comes to Amazon, sometimes the reason why you're not succeed is only PPC. You haven't found the perfect bid, you haven't found the perfect keywords. But sometimes the solutions, as you say, pricing. We even when it comes to, we have seen sometimes clients just by changing a few dollars, you can have an amazing boost when it comes to conversions. And I think that's what I want to actually use this point to kickstart today's topic, which is, I bet you have seen a ton of accounts now. You have seen a ton of case studies where prophecies helping a lot of Amazon sellers basically find the best pricing. And my first question based on that is why you feel after spending all this time, you know, working with so many Amazon sellers, that pricing is becoming such an important thing to actually split test, right? And maybe the images or other things. Yeah.
Well, like again, I shared after I sold Stubana, I went back and worked on my ecom company,
Yeah.
and I started to I was listening to the latest
Mm-hmm.
podcasts, latest things that experts, quote unquote, and gurus were sharing in the space.
Yeah.
And those things weren't working for me. And I started just asking questions of why, right? Why is pricing static? Why does a seller never change price? And is the reason that they never change price, is it actually just based in fear, or is it actually based in reality? And I started making small tweaks to my own pricing. And I had a spreadsheet that I built that I'm happy to share, by the way, with people listening to this podcast. Maybe you'll have
Nice.
a download link, but I have a
Yeah.
spreadsheet that I built with intention, and I would track on ASINs that were important to me, small changes to see how that impacts profitability, ranking, your spend. And I realized that wasn't scalable, and I started building, this is back in 2021, started building an algorithm, a machine learning, with machine learning engineers and data scientists to automate this process. And interestingly enough, right, my ecom company was losing $20,000 to $30,000 a month. Now we're making $20,000 to $30,000 a month, and we were net negative margins, and now we're positive, and we're earning the right to now reinvest in new products so that we can have a brighter, more profitable future on the platform.
Awesome. And it's great that you bring this to the table, which is basically it wasn't scalable to do it on your own, because I strongly believe like doing split testing with pricing manually, I would say it's not realistic. Let's be honest. If you have a lot of products, a lot of marketplaces, a lot of SKUs, it's something that you can so easily understand data and do the mistakes. And I feel it's really not scalable. And I guess that's where Profasee come in, right? And offer that solution.
Yeah. So historically, there's been some split testing softwares like Splitly, if you ever heard of that, from back in the
Yeah.
day. They were acquired by Jungle Scout. And so A/B testing to me is becoming obsolete when you have algorithms. So with an algorithm, especially machine learning, our specific AI, it is teaching itself through trial and error.
Okay.
So when you're doing A/B tests, you're sort of teaching yourself through trial and error, and you're experimenting.
Yeah.
And the question is, well, could you actually experiment quicker and split test, right? Or experiment quicker with AI, see how it performs, and iterate and learn and improve and evolve. And that's really where an algorithm gets smarter and more efficient. And those learnings compound when you utilize Profasee.
Awesome. And now when it comes to designing this pricing strategy, right? I guess, of course, one thing is focusing on what is going to bring you the most conversions and the biggest amount of sales. But on the other side of the equation, I bet it's also very important to actually understand your profitability, because you might end up finding the best price in terms of having the biggest amount of clicks, traffic, and sales. But if you're not profitable, what's the point of actually finding that price point? And the reason why I'm bringing this to the equation is how would you advise before you even design a price strategy? What are some of the things you might consider? I guess maybe is your profitability, what you're looking to do in the next few months. You see what I mean? Like how you design your boundaries, like your max price and your minimum price. Yeah.
Okay, so there's a lot there. Let me
Yeah, I
start
know.
breaking it down a little bit. So we started doing this manually. Then we built an algorithm, and we started actually talking to customers, talking to big private label Amazon brands, and a couple of things. One is the brand gives us their min price and their max price, and they give us their
Okay.
landed cost. So now we know the landed cost. We know the lowest you want to go, and we know the highest you want to go. And sometimes the lowest or highest are just uncapped. It's whatever. And then what we realized is that, well, I'll make an example. You go on Facebook, you go on Instagram, and if you never like anything, you never poke somebody, you never follow somebody, you never watch a video and dwell on a video, the algorithm won't know how to trigger the dopamine to have you stay on the platform, right?
Yeah.
To force, they really want you to death scroll, to scroll forever.
Yeah.
And so there's nothing. So in that same vein, if a seller, if a brand never changes pricing, which is what we found that it's very rare and infrequent that pricing changes, there is nothing for our algorithm to chew on.
I see.
So the first thing we started doing was we launched an hyper learning phase. So for the first 30 days of using Profasee, we have your min price, we have your max price, and we made small itty bitty changes to price.
Nice.
To maximize, to understand and train the model first.
Okay.
Then after that period, we move into the profit optimization phase. And that's the time where we essentially take those learnings and deploy them to the marketplace to maximize profit without sacrificing your ranking position.
Awesome.
So that's how we work. And we pull in a lot of signals. So the amount of data that's necessary to actually figure out what is the optimal price, because most people think the most optimal price is to just raise pricing.
Yeah.
But on Amazon, there's a problem with that.
Yeah.
There's what I call the knock-on effect. The knock-on effect is your price today affects your order volume tomorrow. It affects your conversion rate. It affects a lot of things. So it might be that the optimal decision is not to raise pricing. It might be the optimal decision is to lower price, and that increases your demand. It increases your unit velocity. It increases the sheer amount of profit that you're generating on that specific ASIN, because you're lowering the price, but the unit velocity is offsetting that lower price.
Yeah.
You're generating more profit dollars. And on top of that, you're no longer renting PPC space. You're owning it organically.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So the problem is actually much harder than just pick a price, stay to it. And this is, this is something that nobody has been able to crack. And
Yeah.
we're very blessed at Profasee specifically that we're seeing typically on average a 10 to 15% gross profit lift on average.
Wow.
Across our client base.
That's very good. And actually something that I find very fascinating about this approach is like, I bet this is a never ending process. And what I mean by this is that you might find the perfect pricing this month, but I guess based on your experience, this perfect pricing maybe is going to change for the month of September, August. And that's why I guess your tool Profasee brings that extra added value that you always keep analyzing data. It's not like I find the perfect pricing today and then I keep that pricing forever. You see what I mean? It's a dynamic thing, right?
So a couple of things is like, we actually change pricing on a daily basis, number one.
Well,
and pricing is there's value leakage that's happening because the pricing today and seasonality today and PPC spend is different from day to day. And it's a moving marketplace, meaning you have competitors that you're competing against. And if your competition changes pricing, whether it's up or down, you need to adjust. So you can't just operate in a vacuum on Amazon because there's the butterfly effect. Whatever change you make affects your node in your category and affects the category at large.
Yeah.
So, and on top of that, when you're split testing, like you said, it was pretty manual. You then have to actually coordinate that with your PPC team, with your finance team to try to figure out, well, what is the right decision? It's just, there's a lot that needs to happen to make it happen.
For sure. And now when it comes to the basically the manipulation of this data to the algorithm to find the perfect price, and will you say that you will need certain amount of data in the form of impressions and clicks to make a validated decision? Because I guess if you're only a seller spending maybe $10 per day on advertisement, you can have very limited data and your data could be skewed. So my question is basically, do you see based on your experience that you need certain amount of data to actually make it as efficient as possible when it comes to pricing?
Yep. Yeah. So we do have eligibility at Profasee. So when you come on, we actually do an analysis to see what SKUs are eligible. And typically it's about we need at least 2 units sold a day so that the model can learn and learn quickly and see what's working and iterate on that.
Okay, I see. And with this pricing strategy, and this just another question just came to my mind right now. Will you say, is there a huge difference doing this price fluctuation based on the retail price or actually doing with coupons and on sell price? Because you could have also the price changes but with promotions, if you see what I mean. So have you seen maybe a difference on using one approach or just using the actual price itself? Yeah.
So we do take into account coupons and promotions.
Okay.
Because so when you come on, to make sure that we want to make sure that the variables are staying as they are, meaning we want to make sure that you don't uproot your PPC campaigns. You don't change agencies if you're using one. We want to make sure that you're not changing your title or your bullets, or your image, at least for the first maybe 2 months of using Profasee.
Yeah, I see. Yeah, because I guess if you have multiple data points, then the data is going to be skewed, right? Yeah.
Correct. But I mean, we do a fairly good analysis to show people how much money we're making them.
Okay.
We're like the only software out there that actually cares about your profit, right? We don't go by these revenue embedded metrics. And I think that's probably the talking point, is that a lot of Amazon sellers or brands today are relying on metrics that are just part of it, what I call the Amazon matrix. It's a deceptive system.
Yeah.
Let me explain. I know you're laughing, but it's interesting, right? Because there's this optical illusion of money. There's the
Okay.
money, there's the money that you make, revenue, your top line, and there's the money that you keep in profit.
Yeah.
And so these metrics that people manage to because they're easy and because Amazon wants you to measure to them, and so do the agencies because the agencies are bought in to these Amazon metrics,
Yeah.
is like ACoS and ROAS. And they have extremely great limitations. So they are revenue embedded metrics.
Yeah.
And so they lure you into spending more while hurting your bottom line. And you can say, oh, we have a 5x ROAS, we have an 8x ROAS, but those metrics aren't doing much for your bank account at the end of the day.
I
Because,
see.
and I'll tell you why, is because they don't capture the cost of delivering a product to the customer, the cost to acquire a customer.
Mm-hmm.
And so they steer you to easy to win campaigns, and you can hide losses and generate suboptimal spend in your account.
I see. I'm based on your experience because this is actually very interesting for me because we are also an agency. What is usually then some of the metrics that actually could give you the full picture and to avoid to stay into that bubble in some sense, in terms of only
Yep.
looking at Amazon. Yeah.
You need to replace every metric at your company with a profit-driven metric. You need to
Okay.
prioritize profit over revenue. And so an example would be instead of return on ad spend, it's profit on ad spend.
Okay.
That's one example, right? And so if you use POAS instead of ROAS, and because at Profasee, I mean, the name, right, is Profasee, we're predicting a price to make you more money, but PROF, which is making you more profit at the end of the day. It's a play on words if you caught that.
Yeah.
And we only care about profit. Our North Star is making you more money in your pocket.
Okay.
And there's very few other agencies that care about that. And I think if there was more agencies that actually enable brands to make more money in their pocket, not on these revenue embedded metrics, they would have far healthier businesses and less churn.
Yes. Totally. Yeah, totally on board with you. I think, I mean, we see all the time, like sometimes if you only take your decisions based on, first it was the ACOS, then we went to ROAS, then we went to TACOS. Sometimes we just keep changing the metrics just to put the pretty face on front, but the reality is sometimes, yeah, the profitability is not there. I'm totally on board with you. And that's why actually,
Yeah.
I feel is very important to actually have a look at also the P&L on let's say on a weekly basis, monthly basis, that only the actual numbers that you see on Amazon, because yeah, they don't give you the full pictures 100%. Yeah.
Totally. Yeah, and I think it's connecting those dots, right? I think it's building out a system with your agency or whoever you're using. Like for Profasee specifically, we centralize all of our price information in one place. We show them the impact on PPC and how it's connected to PPC. And I'm happy to go into more detail on PPC and that, but we also have a cadence where we're scheduling pricing reviews and showing them profit reviews based on pricing changes that we've made, and then we're helping them connect that discipline across other parts of their company, across marketing, across PPC, across finance, essentially keeping everyone aligned around the intention to maximize profit, and keeping pricing front and center of that, because pricing has 100% impact on your revenue, right? If you think about the trickle down effect, it's price times your unit velocity gives you your revenue.
Yeah, of course. And just to give some actionable steps in terms of, let's say sellers find the ideal price using Profasee, and then understand what are the best way of basically pricing the product on the Amazon platform. How will you then an Amazon seller get that information? Maybe take specific actions, let's say on the PPC, because that's also an interesting side of the equation. So will you say, based on what you get in your performance with pricing, will you then do certain changes to your PPC to reach certain?
So,
you see what I mean?
Yeah. So we have two products right now at
Okay.
Profasee. We have our Hero, which is our pricing platform.
Okay.
And what we realized after working with a lot of brands was, well, okay, we'll show you more profit. We'll show you 10% profit lift. But imagine a world where we increase pricing for a Hero SKU. Let's just say over time it goes up 10%, let's just say.
Okay.
But you're using software and you just essentially are saying, hey, I want to peg my ACoS to be a certain level. So a few things could happen. One, the first thing that could happen is we increase price, and or maybe you even either peg ACoS or lower your bids, and now you're essentially lowering your bids, and now demand decreases.
Yeah.
The other side of harmonizing price and spend is that you take pricing and let's just use an example, right? Let's just use a real live example here.
Yeah.
So let's say you take a product, and it's $25.
Okay.
$25 retail price, and you increase that price by 20%. So now it's $30.
Okay.
Okay. And then you take ACoS, and that ACoS is 20%, and you increase it 20% again. So now we've increased price, we've increased ACoS. Now this is all counterintuitive, and this
Yeah.
is breaking the notions of what people believe in.
In the
But if you
Amazon.
actually
Yeah.
in the Amazon world,
Yeah.
increase price, increase ACoS, you can actually double your contribution profit. So your ad spend goes up, sure, but your profit goes up 100%. Your ROAS decreases. So at $25 with a 20% ACoS, we know the inverse of ACoS is your ROAS. That's 5x. Your ACoS increases to 24%. Your ROAS declines. It goes to 4.2x. And that makes the manager look bad. But if you look at profit on ad spend,
you're making more money. Yeah.
you're making a whole lot more money. You're being more efficient with every dollar that you spend.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so my actionable stuff for brands, right, is like, hey, replace your revenue embedded metrics with profit tracking metrics, period.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Tie everything back to profit to enable far more accurate bids that you're making in PPC. And also don't just leave your pricing hanging, right? Your pricing is not, you look at Uber surge pricing, you look at Expedia with airplanes. When you book a flight,
Yeah.
the price changes over time, right? Based on demand, based on seasonality, based on a whole lot of signals. We do the same thing, but we do it for Amazon brands. And it's important to actually tie it all together and to think out of the box, because if you're doing what everyone else is doing in the Amazon world, you're not going to win.
I know. And I love that you bring this to the table, because even sometimes when I'm having meetings with clients, because they're all listening to the same content, the same gurus and everything, and they say, "Oh, my ACoS went up, my ROAS went down, everything." But when we set the P&L, they're making more money. But before the actual meeting, they were complaining just for the sake of, based on the same metrics that everybody's thinking about, the freaking ACoS that and that everybody thinks about. So it's good that you bring this to the table, because I agree with you. Yeah.
It takes a little bit of a mind shift, right? It's setting your mind, which
I know
creates your mindset.
I know. Now, another thing that I also want to briefly touch, because I bet you have some clever insights about this as well, is the ranking, right? Because we know that when we play with pricing, there's some activity always going on the rankings, organic ranking, right? So what are some of the insights you can share? And what I mean by this, usually I have seen that when you increase pricing, sometimes you can go down and things like that. So what is your take on this? Have you seen a huge fluctuation?
Not at all, actually. In fact, most of the fear is, and that's in general, right? Fears in life are never really rooted in reality.
Okay.
And the beautiful thing is, like, since we've been building, I raised $2.5 million to build an algorithm in 2021 of December, and we've been building ever since. And when you have data and you have empirical data to back up what you're building, you can just show people, hey, your rank, we increased your pricing by 10% on average. Your average selling prices increased across your portfolio that we're managing 10%. And your rank actually went down, meaning it improved. And so the model is constantly consuming your ranking position. And if it actually starts noticing perhaps that ranking is going the wrong way, the model starts reversing its decision process.
I see.
So everything that we built at Profasee has been designed around an Amazon brand. So for example, listing suppression. Sometimes you can get a listing suppressed. Our software immediately detects it and essentially resets back down to the original price. Boom, no problem. Every product that you're managing has its own demand curve. We essentially have built an algorithm. Every ASIN is its own unique snowflake. It has its own algorithm, kind of like ChatGPT has a thread, and the more you build onto it,
yeah,
it improves. The same thing, but we're doing that for an ASIN.
Awesome. And say that based on the fact that the more data you have, will you say what is the minimum maybe you could expect to be using a tool such as a Profasee, sorry, to actually start getting the most out of it? Yeah.
So firstly, I think our pricing starts at $5.99 a month, and when we present our results, again, everything is done. I'm a seller at heart. I'm a brand at heart, and so we're not your we're not here to take a percentage of your profit. We're not here to take a percentage of your
Yeah.
revenue. We're not here to take even a percentage of your spend.
Yeah.
We're here to make you more money, and our
Mm-hmm.
pricing is a flat-based pricing. And so when we present results, we actually have a line item in our results saying, "Hey, here's your ROI on the software."
Love it. Very good. Awesome.
So it's a really unique model in that way, uh, and nobody in our space is doing it. I mean, I think there's a lot of people in the Amazon world that say softwares that say that they have AI, and that's either that they built into ChatGPT,
Yeah.
right, where they're just embedding into their API and creating a
Mm.
prompt, and what you put in is what you get out. In this instance, right, we've created our own models, and these models and these algorithms in those with those models and our AI, our true AI, is capable of self-improvement.
Yeah.
And so it actually observes, it experiments like split testing, and learns and teaches itself independently of us doing anything.
Awesome. Good. Now, so we can start concluding today's episode. I think my final question, because I mean, I see so many implementations that you can do with this, and I'm sure you're just getting started with this. And my question for you: what is the future plans for Prophecy? I'm sure you have some exciting things that maybe you can share, maybe you can share. But what is your goal with this company? Like, what are you looking to achieve? Yeah, in the
Well,
long
I
term.
think right now we're doing something groundbreaking, right? Most softwares just help you become more efficient. If
Yeah.
you look at even my previous company, it's Ubana. It's an efficiency software. It essentially manages inventory, and we juggle inventory. When you sell on Amazon, we update Target, we update Sephora,
Mm.
we help you print a shipping label. It was a unified platform that helps you be more efficient. With Profasee, one, we're helping you become more effective. We're actually
Mhm.
taking decisions to bring your profit levels to places they've never seen before. So we have to deliver results to you, or we're not going to be in business. And our job is to deliver those results. So
Mhm.
that's like groundbreaking in itself. Two is we're using real AI. We actually have poured a lot of money into this product to build actual algorithms that work to deliver you this and to learn over time. Um, and just private label pricing in general, right? Competing on the SERP versus competing for a buy box is very, very different. And
Yeah.
so those are three groundbreaking things. Now, in terms of the future, right now, I just saw a show and tell this morning, and our development team presents things that they're working on. And so we're right now, we just built a new competitor algorithm that scrapes competitors
Yeah.
and brings in their prices. We were doing it a different way. We were doing reverse ASIN lookups, and we saw that there was some things that weren't actually working that well in that process. And so we built a new competitor algorithm.
Okay.
And then we started building ranking and actual ranking positions into the algorithm as well, which is now embedded. And so we're just making our product that much better to deliver better
Wow.
results, and then moving international over time.
Wow. Love it. Yeah. That's very good, actually. Just to clarify, now that you mentioned international, so we can clarify for which marketplaces actually you can start using Prophecy at the moment. Yeah.
Right now, we're Amazon US, although
Okay.
if you request access, you'll get in the waiting line for when we launch internationally. We'll probably launch Canada, UK, and Germany as the
Love it.
next three.
Good.
Uh, and so international is a big focus. Now imagine a world where, let's just say your currency is the United States. This is like a
Mm-hmm.
future state, right? We're talking about like, whew.
Yeah.
Imagine you're selling a product, it's in the US and it's in, let's just say it's in the UK.
Yeah.
It's in pounds. Well, maybe there's an opportunity to arbitrage the pricing and the currency as well
Mm.
across those two marketplaces. And so those are things that we're thinking about as we progress into the future.
Yeah, the potential is massive because I have clients that they sell on so many different currencies and marketplaces, and having a solution like that would be game changer. I mean, because just the currency itself, the fluctuation sometimes can kill or make your margins. So yeah, it's good that you have maybe that on the pipeline. So maybe looking forward to it.
Cool.
Awesome, Chad. So it's been a pleasure to have you on the show. Thank you very much for your time. I think what I want to use this last minute or so is to get some info about how people can reach out to you, how they can get started with Profasee, and if you have something going on. Yeah.
Yeah, so I mentioned hopefully in the show notes we'll be able to drop this pricing spreadsheet that I built. I think that'll be
Awesome.
helpful to people.
Yeah.
You can feel free to email me. My personal email is chad@profasee.com. That's PROFASEE.com. Feel free to email me. I've been in the community for a long time. I'm here to help, support, and shed insights. You can find me posting a lot of interesting insights on LinkedIn and Twitter. I believe it's just my name, Chad Rubin. You can find me pretty easily there. And yeah, looking forward. If we can help you make more money at Profasee, just sign up, request access, and we'll make it happen.
Yeah. Thank you, Chad. So looking forward to having the future to discuss all these new things that are coming. Yeah. Thank you for your
Awesome.
time.
Thanks for having me, man. I appreciate it.
See ya. Pleasure.